is being recorded.
So thanks everyone for coming. This is an odd week for us because we're bi-weekly, but we've switched to the new week to not conflict with the new networking meeting, which is at the same time as this. Here's our agenda. The first one is, how is this time for people? Does anyone object to this new time? If you can't make it, you're probably not here. So
not here to.
When you're viewing this on YouTube, come to the notes and complain. The next item is we wanted to see the webhook presentation. Can you show us that now? Can you share your screen?
Okay, let me see how to share a screen.
It would be an up arrow inside of a box. Share content.
I found it.
I see your screen.
Yeah, great. So a little bit background. So in current implementation, webhooks such as Galley and Sidecar Injector, they are managing their own webhook configurations, which is a security risk because these webhook configurations are highly privileged. They can determine, what Kubernetes resources the webhook server is monitoring or is mutating or is validating. So we have a design called the Istio webhook controller to manage the webhook configurations for the webhooks. So with this new design, the webhook controller will provision the webhook certificates, and the Istioctl or Istio operator will manage the webhook configurations for the webhooks. So the part I'm going to talk about is the part that manages the webhook configurations at Istioctl. So I think, Edward, you have seen my PR, and I get many comments, and I have addressed all these comments. So basic idea is we will add a command called Istioctl webhook enable, and that command will have some flags, for example, -- validation to enable the webhook configuration for Galley, and the -- injection to enable the webhook configurations for Sidecar Injector. Another command I think is suggested by Edward. It's to have a command to disable the webhook configurations. I will probably add that today, and also see the status of this webhook configuration. For example, whether they have been deployed, or simply there is no such webhook configuration.
Lei, can you link this design document in the agenda so that we all have access to it?
I can link it later. Maybe we can. You want to link it now, or I can link it in a few minutes?
In a few minutes is fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's good that we would have a way to do this because of the security risk, which I don't know much about, not being a security guy. But tell me, what is the story for users and this feature? Are they expected to install with this without injection and then use this? What is this buying us?
So for the user part, because the webhook configurations are cluster dependent, meaning that the CA bundle in the webhook configuration is specific to cluster. So this webhook configuration must be generated dynamically. So from the user experience part, when they run, for example, Helm template, the the YAML files or the Istio deployment or Istio resources don't contain webhook configuration. So when these are generated statically, don't have these webhook configurations. And the user will simply go through the same process. For example, Helm template, then he'll apply. Then they run Istioctl webhook enable, just one command to enable the webhook galley and sidecar injector.
After they install Istio, are they required to run this command before they have auto inject?
So they don't have that. They don't need to run this before the deployment. Is that? Can you repeat the question?
Is they install Istio. Are there no webhooks, or do you have to run this before the webhook becomes active?
So basically, it's like this. So webhook has a webhook server. The webhook server, for example, galley and the sidecar injector. So they are part of the normal installation flow. So basically, they are running, yes, but they are running. But the API server is not sending the webhook request to them yet, because these webhook requests are configured through the webhook configurations, their endpoint, their CA bundle, what resources they monitor. So these are the part configured by the Istioctl. Istioctl install these webhook configurations.
So this command is basically adding the mutating webhook resource definition. Is that correct?
That's true. And the reason, the motivation behind this is two things. One is this webhook configuration should only be configured when the webhook servers are actually ready.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from now.
Yeah, if they are not ready, if we done it, as part of the installation, then because of the timing issues, this webhook request may be rejected because the server are not up yet. So that's one motivation. Another motivation is this CA bundle must be dynamically fetched from the Kubernetes cluster when the Istio is actually installed. Then at a time that this Helm template is generated this YAML file, because at that time you're probably running this command Helm template on your laptop. Such information available yet.
We could have the galley or the injector create the webhook itself. Creating it on your laptop, why is that more secure?
So I think there is a misunderstanding. The current model is the webhook themselves manages their webhook configuration, but that's are not secure. The reason they are not secure is these are highly privileged. A webhook server can say, I want to monitor all the secrets, but that's not allowed because this should be configured by administrator. They shouldn't allow the webhook itself to change the resources it monitors or the resources it mutated.
Allow the webhooks to run at regular privilege without this special webhook ability, but we'll be able to set it up from the command line. And that seems great, but it seems like a user could easily forget to do that. So from the point of view of user experience, if you forget to do that, your sidecars won't be there. You won't know why things are working in one cluster and not the other. So we should, if we're going to do this, we should make the experience of knowing if this webhook is active here. Right now you have to do kube control get webhooks, and we should make more tools. So we have the Istioctl verify install. Maybe it should be checking to see if you've done this. Maybe a tool like Kiali should have a flag to warn you that your whole mesh is not going to be able to do validation or injection of CRDs if you don't have this. If we're going to add this, we need to make it very hard to forget to do this.
So just to be clear, this command is only for the case where Istioctl manifest apply is not used. So the manifest apply code would have all this logic built into it. So then it would continue to be a one command installation experience for the user. And the additional commands that Lei's talking about are only for the case where user chooses either Helm or the Istio installer installation path.
So that sounds great. I like the extra security or options, but that's why on the PR I asked him to make sure it has some options to display the current status, because you wouldn't know. It might be the nighttime admin who installed, and he might have done it differently than you do. So we want to make sure there's some way to know what's going on.
Yes, the status command, I will add the status command today.
To expand this document with a very simple explanation of what the vulnerability is that we're trying to mitigate.
There is a separate design document called Istio webhook controller. It has been shared with the community. If you search that 3 words, you will see it.
Thank you.
Can you link this one to it? So as background at the top?
Yes, I can. Let me take some notes. Wait, yeah.
So the place in Istioctl where this command is hooked on was just under experimental, right?
Under experimental.
Because this is to sort of reconfigure Istio or to finish doing an install, should we try to move it? Under experimental, we have manifest and other commands. Here, let me pull up what we have now. Maybe we need a Istioctl subcommand for this kind of thing. We have profile and manifest. This seems similar to those things, but not exactly. Should we have a place to put Istio reconfiguration or configuration options?
My understanding is this feature is an alpha feature. So it's putting under the experimental, but it will eventually graduate into beta. Then that we can reorganize it into, for example, a command called Istioctl webhook something, or the one you mentioned, the Istioctl configuration webhook enable. So it can be refactored or reorganized.
So actually, this is one reason that I asked Lei to have this reviewed in the UX group, because we struggled with where to actually put this command, where it makes sense to put this command, because it seems that there may not be enough in the command itself to justify a top-level subcommand like webhook. I don't know. I mean, this is just this is what we were debating among ourselves, versus making it a subcommand of some other subcommand. We're just really looking for some feedback where it would make sense to put this in the command hierarchy. So pollute the top level subcommands maybe, but it's in a sensible place.
Yeah. There's things that I've always wanted to do with Istio to change its dynamic configuration, like setting the Envoy level, whether it records traffic or not for logging. And I've proposed making a subcommand for that. People say no, we're going to use the new installer with an option for that. So to me, it makes sense to have a place to put commands to change the configuration of a running Istio control plane. But also, I've got the feedback that we don't want that, that we want it to go through the installer commands. Is this something that could be done through the operator code and the manifest feature?
Well, it's a bit awkward there because for the manifest command, if you run through that flow, there's actually no need for this command because it's something that will actually share the same code under the manifest apply subcommand. So it's a little bit of an awkward fit because the idea with manifest is that it runs the operator. And the purpose of that is to eliminate these types of configuration, these manual configuration commands.
Could I do something like manifest apply set webhook galley equals true, something like this? I mean, would that be good enough to get you what you want, or?
Yes. So manifest apply that will take care of all these operations for the case where user is actually using Istioctl to do the installation. But what it doesn't handle is the cases where user is starting with Helm or Istio installer.
Okay.
Exactly. And sorry, go ahead, Martin. I can jump in later.
Oh, that's pretty much it.
So I'm a little concerned about the experience with Helm here. So most of our customers, and I think other production customers, are using Helm to manage the lifecycle. So one of the options suggested in the document says that for just installing the webhook configuration, you have to use Istioctl and then Helm for everything else. That seems broken for upgrades. If I remember.
People are used to just doing Helm upgrades, so they will not issue the other command again. Correct?
I think if there is a change between versions that requires a change to the webhook configuration, then indeed we would have a problem. We would need an additional manual step there. There could be, I guess, a Helm hook or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's already a problem to switch between versions. Like there are quite a few issues with Helm. We have jobs that don't run while we do upgrades, and if more manual steps, I don't think that's a good user experience. So, and whatever you suggested right now makes sense to me, adding more hooks, making it work across upgrades.
We probably need to think through that a bit more, just to see if there's any potential for breaking across upgrades, and if so, what would be the solution to that? We should take that as an AI.
That makes sense. I will add a comment in the document.
So reading through the document, the security risk that we're worried about is where, say, the sidecar injector is compromised, and attackers leverage that compromise and the privileges of the sidecar injector to create a new webhook that goes to their own service. Yes? So if they've already compromised the sidecar, and the sidecar is a mutating, they already effectively have root access to every pod in the cluster, don't they?
So for example, when the sidecar injector is compromised, then it can say, I want to monitor all the, secrets. They can erase.
Okay, which it's not monitoring today.
It's not monitored today, so they can, erase job basically. That's the example, but they can do essentially, all the Kubernetes resources can be mutated or monitored by.
Right. So if you've got the privilege to mutate the pods, then effectively you can grant the pods the security context to create webhooks, and you can cause the pods to run your own container image.
I think that's not. I think that's not necessarily true. The reason is like this, right? So if the sidecar injector can inject whatever content to the envoy, but that envoy doesn't necessarily have the Kubernetes RBAC. For example, it doesn't have the role of let's say monitor secrets. That depends on what the Kubernetes role they have. In that case, I don't see how this envoy can have that service account. Essentially, to have that role, need to have a service account configured with that role.
And to make a pod be an actual webhook, mutating webhook or a validating webhook, it also needs to have the right certificates which the Kubernetes API server will trust. So you have two levels of defense there.
Yeah, that's true. So the with the new design, the webhook certificates are provisioned by Istio webhook controller, issued by Kubernetes CI server.
Thank you for your hard work and for this presentation, Lee.
Thank you. Yeah.
I asked Jason to demonstrate kubectl explained, but I believe he's on vacation. And so we'll get that at the next meeting. The only other item I have on the agenda is the validation information. We're going to have a workshop. I think I'll let the moderator announce it. But I tried to create my own webhook this morning, and or my own validator hook this morning, and I was able to do it. So it looked like a pretty good API. And then it looks like someone's added the Istioctl weight proposal to the agenda, so we'll look at that next. When are we going to have the workshop?
So the calendar invite should have just gone out. It's scheduled for Monday at 9 a.m. Hopefully that will allow the Kiali and Istio people to also attend, because I especially want to be able to get them involved in this.
Okay. I put a link to the PR for your documentation.
Yes, thank you.
So that's so who added Istioctl weight proposal? And I guess Lynn did. Lynn, are you on the call?
I don't believe it's me.
Lynn clicked on it just now. That's why you saw her name pop up. I added this document.
Mitch, do you want to talk about it?
Sure. So most of this document is going to deal with the problems that users have not being able to know when their config has been distributed, when it's actually active on their traffic. Then it's going to get into detailed algorithm implementations. Most of the data is going to be collected out of Pilot in this proposal. But the part that's relevant to this working group is probably going to be Appendix A, where we look in detail at what kubectl weight would look like under this proposal. And again, it would be an experimental in version 1.4.
You want to take over the screen, or do you want me to scroll for you?
If you want to scroll for me, I am not technically competent enough to take over a screen.
Okay. Which should we look at Appendix A, or should we keep scrolling?
If you just want to look at Appendix A, that's going to be right at the end of the document there. Yeah, towards the bottom of the appendix is what we're interested in. Our command, Istioctl weight -- for deploy resource, which is going to be the kind of the resource, such as virtual service. and then X being the name of that virtual service. What this command is going to do is going to block until that virtual service has been deployed to every Envoy proxy in the cluster.
By every Envoy proxy, do you mean that it's been accepted by them, or that it's been sent to them and they act or nact?
It will act. I'm considering act as an acceptance.
If it says I reject, I don't accept. Is that what you mean by act?
The current design would have wait continue blocking until it has been act by all or until a timeout is reached. I'd also like to add an optional flag for threshold. Let's say you only care about getting it act on 80% of the envoys. In a very large cluster, 100% distribution is something that is not generally attainable. So you can set a custom threshold at which point it would succeed and unblock.
So I haven't followed this work, but I think that it would greatly speed up our test cases, which often sleep until something has been sent out.
If you look up in the problem statement, we've got developer pane, which is all about our flaky tests.
I love that.
It's very much correlated to run and wait.
I've also noticed cases where, due to some weirdness, the configuration has been rejected by one or all envoys because of something strange happening. If a single envoy rejects it, should this command block forever? How should that work?
So if you're running it without a custom threshold, then yes, it would block until the timeout, and then it would exit with code 1. If, on the other hand, you've set a custom threshold that would tolerate that one envoy being out of date, then it'll succeed.
So if I currently have a sleep 10 seconds with a kubectl, wait for a virtual service, max delay 10 seconds, and that would just be a faster way to wait for that thing to be pushed out. Seems awesome.
So for our tests, like in the areas where we're doing like deploy and wait, if we're currently, I think a lot of them use 15 seconds currently, and they're very flaky because our test cluster gets under exceedingly heavy load during the release process, or like, right about 2 p.m. when everybody's right in the zone, getting their PRs pushed in. And it takes longer than 15 seconds to distribute config under that scenario. So what I would recommend is that we replace it with like a kubectl wait 60 seconds, something along those lines, because we know that both in our test cluster and in real life scenarios, compute gets burdened, and that will slow the distribution of config. But that 60-second timeout is not going to affect our happy path. When things are running smoothly, we will exit as soon as the config has been distributed and not be waiting around for a minute.
That should really help with test flakiness. I like it. The user might not know to do this. When I had always envisioned this feature but not implemented it myself, I thought it would be nice to put on the status field of the CRD.
You're absolutely right. That's where I would love to get it in the 1.5 time frame. This design is just pared down because I think I can accomplish it in time for 1.4.
Okay.
I know Chris Wilson and Oz are doing work on a status controller that will be related to their validation work. That in 1.5 I can sort of springboard off of what they've built and plumb this data straight through to Kubernetes status.
Can you link the document to the issue and/or PR?
I have some of those. I will link it for sure.
All right. So right now you're looking for approval. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for approval of the Istioctl command and feedback on that. I've got to get approval from the networking team on the modifications to pilot that I'm proposing. So that algorithm is sort of a separate problem. But definitely the format of the command and any comments on the flags that I've proposed. I should have blown out the flags in a little bit more clarity in this doc. I will be adding that when this is over.
Yes, I don't see the flags here. So maybe just describe the options and
so for one, I've specifically put everything behind the for deploy flag, so that if we have an Istioctl wait that is waiting on something that is not related to configuration distribution, we can use the same command and have good semantics there without having to refactor or break previous implementations. The two optional flags are going to be a custom timeout and the completion threshold at which you want to report success.
The most frustrating test flakiness that I ever dealt with had to do with rule change rather than creation and happening during scaling. Tell me about rule changes. If you have a virtual service and went into a different subset, would that be visible through this?
So that from a Kubernetes perspective, what you've done is a kubectl edit virtual service to modify some of the subset data within the virtual service.
It was an apply, but yes.
Apply. So that is a virtual service change. Within Kubernetes, that generates a new resource ID.
Yes.
The virtual service. Anything that generates a new resource ID, anything that's going to go out on the webhook to Galley, will generate a new hash within the algorithm, the Merkle tree that we're using to track all of this, and will be Istioctl waitable.
I saw X. I had been thinking that for X, you meant something along the lines of virtual service / Istio system / cert manager or virtual service default ratings. Did you mean that the ID?
That would be the name field of the resource, and then where it says resource, that would be the kind. Should probably clarify that there.
Good to have some examples of it waiting for a particular name or ID.
Add that.
Sometimes an ID might not ever get rolled out because another update might happen very quickly after the first change. That one would get rolled out instead, right?
That's correct.
So in that case, it would wait for timeout because that one would never get rolled out, or would it immediately return?
In that case, it's going to wait for whatever the latest version in Kubernetes is rolled out. So it'll get the latest version at the start and begin listening for new versions and succeed whenever a subsequent version is deployed. If the subsequent version is an overwrite change, this will succeed when your virtual service has been your change has been overwritten, which is frustrating. However, I think the more common case is it's an additive change. You're not stepping on each other's toes. In that case, you're still going to be exiting when that additive change has been deployed out to all of the envoys.
We have test cases that do a delete and then sleep.
Delete. So algorithmically, delete and sleep is not, or a delete that we wait on is not a problem. Exactly sure how you would specify that within the Istioctl command. Do you have ideas how we would?
I could see a minus not, but that is just my first guess. I would have to think about it some more. What do you expect is going to happen here with this JSON for a delete?
The endpoint would also need to have its semantics updated to support deletes, but that's a great point.
It might need that semantic, or it might just see if you on a delete, it might just stop showing up. So something like invert match, like minus invert match, like grep has, or minus not, and some other tools might be helpful for that case. Okay. Do we have any other items for the agenda? I know we only had 1 week between meetings. And also, do we have anyone who wants to speak at the next meeting besides Jason Wang?
I may have a design doc ready for review at some point. It'll be on collecting debug data.
Thank you, Liam. Okay, we're done. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.